So let's talk about George, shall we? For anyone who doesn't know, George is a Muscovian, one of those ducks that has like the reddish on them. Hold on. My other phone's not here. I have a picture of George in there. But if you're on my YouTube channel, there are plenty and plenty of videos concerning George. So George is this duck that I thought was a wild duck based on the way that he seemed to just, he lives, or I thought I was wrong, okay, I was wrong, but 4 doors up from me on the lake, I often see him at my neighbors at their dock, and he seems like he just kind of hangs out there, right? So George, gosh, where do you start with this stuff? Okay, so in my attempts to get back to myself, I had been asking that I would receive help on getting back on my paddleboard and doing the things that really mean something to me, you know, making my soaps and lotions and different kinds of skincare products and you know, whatever. I haven't gotten into all that stuff yet, but George did help me to start paddleboarding. Now, I'm not going to go into all that. If you want to see how, just watch those videos. So George did some really good things, and he was really sweet. And he would sit with me on one of my benches in the backyard, and we would listen to audiobooks like for hours, and he was amazing. And he let me like pet him right here underneath his beak, and he was so cute. And you know, it's like I could say, George, George, and he would fly over to me and follow me everywhere. And he was great. He was really great. Well, then George started getting a little psycho. Like, I would come in from paddleboarding, and when he saw me putting away my board into the shed, then he would fly over here and he would act like, no, 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 you have to get back out there. And he'd get kind of violent. And then, and it would just be like, what's going on? And then Steve and I were in the pool, and George was cool with me being in the pool. But when he realized that Steve was in the pool, he freaked out and he started to try to attack Steve. And then he turned and he started like, wait, that day he didn't attack me that day. But then the next time I saw George, he was attacking me because he wanted me out on the water. It's kind of like he wants me to do what he wants me to do instead of being a sweet little duck. It's like, oh. So anyway, and then the last time I saw George, I was swimming with Steve in our swimming pool. George flew over the fence and started acting crazy. So the feathers on the top of his head stand straight up. And it's kind of cute, you know, because it's like he's got a hairdo. But then he gets this crazy look in his eye, and he comes after you. And I mean, it's all, you know, game on. And so he went after Steve again, and Steve had to run inside the house. And then he turned and he was going after me, and I thought, what is going on, you know? So my daughter Mary looked up stuff, and it said that if a duck is lonely, they can bond with a human. And when they make that bond, sometimes they then try to mate or, you know, they act like you're their mate, and they can get quite rough and biting and things like that. So she was like, I think he's just like bonded with you and he's trying to mate with you. And I was like, well, Sweet George is really nice. He's nice to hang out with when he's nice, but when he's psycho, oh my gosh, it's like, we're not playing this game. So today, Steve's like, there's George, he's right across the street. And so I go out there, and sure enough, so the lake is in our backyard. Right across the street from us, George is in their yard. And Steve hollers out to him, watch out for that duck. he's mean and he'll bite and attack. And they're like, oh, we know, we know. So we start talking, and I find out that George belongs to them. And where I thought that George was an older duck, he's not. He was just born. He was hatched on Easter. And they raised him as a little tiny chick, and they showed me pictures, and he was so cute. This little round belly that was like all golden is so cute. And while we're talking, George is like in the road right there just hanging out with us, and they were saying that he can be sweet or a monster, and they just let him free roam. So he goes way down the street in either direction. Now for me, I've only known George to be on this person's dock 4 doors down from me or in my yard. And there are times when he spends the night in my yard. Not too often though. Mostly he goes back to their house. And this is the first time I've ever seen George across the street. And we've lived here for years, so I guess I've just missed him. But they were saying like there's a blonde girl over there, and she's young. I don't know how old she is, but he likes her, and I could tell that he really likes her. But he'll attack her sometimes, and he totally doesn't like her boyfriend or husband, whoever he is, her partner. He doesn't like him at all. Like, he treats him like he treats Steve, like, I guess he has a heirloom of women, and I'm in there, and the girl across the street's in there, and her mother, who was the one who started raising him, he's just plain mean to her. Like, they keep a broom outside ready just for him. So I figured I would give you an update on George. So I told them, I said, well, we've trashed George so much, but I want you to know that George did a really good thing for me. And I told them the story about George and how he got me paddleboarding again. And it took him 3 days for me to get the message, but I'm like, he's like an angel duck. And then he's a demon duck. And everybody agrees. So now I know George is young, and and his name is Linda, because they thought that he was a girl until they actually saw girl ducks of his variety and realized that no, with all his colorations, and he's a lot bigger, he's a male. So they call him Linda, and he comes to Linda. I call him George, and he comes to George. So that's what the update is on George the duck. So if he's sweet, he can hang out. But if he's like in this attack mode because he needs to mate and he's got hormones raging through him, I don't want any part of him. It's like, George. Craziness, right?